Hi everyone, welcome back. So today I am going to be talking about what I wish I knew when starting out as a photographer. Now I say wish I knew because all of the mistakes that I have made over the years have led me to this point of knowledge and knowing what I can change and what I can improve. So never feel like you have to have everything figured out all the time, because you'll realize that all those obstacles and all those things that you went through are actually there to refine you and to chip away at all the things that don't serve you anymore. What I wish I knew is that comparison is stalling your growth. Now, it's very easy for us, especially with social media, seeing people's highlights, seeing people's achievements and successes, and not necessarily seeing all the work and the hardships that it took to actually get there. What I've actually come to realize is that my authenticity is actually my superpower. And so once I learned that what I have, nobody can have, you start to actually compare yourself to you and you start to be in competition with yourself. And now I do a lot of that because I never like to use terms that make people feel less than, because we are where we are and where we are is exactly where we need to be. But obviously there's things that hopefully in this video that will help you, but it's never to make people feel like they're not doing enough or they're not doing something that they should be doing. It's just to hopefully enlighten people to what I've discovered and what I've become aware of on my journey. So once you realize that your authentic vision, what you bring, your stories, your upbringing, whatever shapes you to be who you are, is actually your brand identity. And once you just be who you are, whatever that means, you may be a shy person, embrace that. How can you tap into that and create a brand around that? So once I realized that actually me comparing what other photographers are doing, oh, they're doing this, they've got this set up, they've got that. There's definitely inspiration that can be taken. But what I would say to you is that you are the most important part of your journey. You are the most important part of your success. And honestly, people will be attracted to that. And again, I haven't got it all figured out, but intuitively, I just know that I'm on that right path because I've actually come back to myself and understood that me comparing myself to another photographer or another creative or another person in my field is not doing anything for me, because I'm just regurgitating the same things that other people have done based on what they feel is right. But once I actually realized that I have a responsibility to put out what is authentic to me, because that could actually help somebody, that's when things started to shift for me. And I was able to actually build a brand and still build a brand alongside who I am. And that's the beauty of it, that it is constantly evolving and you're in competition with yourself instead of someone else. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about and what I wished I knew is that this is not a race, it's a marathon. Understanding that it's a marathon and not a race was a real key shift in my journey for me, because when you're wanting to achieve something really, really quickly, you start doing things that aren't authentic to you. Again, going back to that first point that I just made, when you're racing, you look at other photographers, you're like, oh, they've done that. You have a lot of people say, you want to get this many followers quick, do this or do that. And that's cool. That's their journey, what they're doing, that's fine. But sometimes I get worried for other photographers and for myself sometimes, because it's very easy for us to like, okay, I want this quick. Sometimes the things that come hard and require hard work are the ones that you'll really appreciate at the end. Having that idea in your head and that mentality that, okay, I'm in this for the long run, you become more conscious, you become more focused, you become more structured, because you realize, okay, this might take a year, this might take 2 years, this might take 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, you've got a plan and you can work towards that consistently. When you're in that rat race of like, I need to do this, I need to do that, you're like, as they say, just a busy idiot. Focus and direction is much more important, in my opinion, than speed. The third thing that I wish I knew is that gear doesn't matter. Don't be so pressed on the gear that you need. As long as you have a camera, anything that you have to capture, phones nowadays, don't feel held back from creating and from perfecting your creative vision just because you don't have the professional camera. I have had this camera for ages. There's way better cameras out there, but it's creating what I needed to create. And one thing that I came to understand is that creative vision cannot be purchased, but it can be perfected. If you're going to spend your money on something, spend your money on workshops, maybe spend your money on going to different locations, traveling to different places and finding different ways to shoot things. And even you can do it in your house, whatever. You can play with light, you can move things around, use what you have at your disposal, and it will force you to think creatively. It will force you to be a problem solver. And I think in the industry, it's a very important thing to have creative problem solving, because you can go to a shoot and What happens if the electricity's gone? What happens if someone steals your camera, but you've got to perform for the client? If you have that creative problem solving in your backpack and you know, okay, I can whip it out at any time, no one can replace that with gear. It's a very valuable asset to actually have as a creative. Once you've developed that, you can use any camera, you can create anything you want. Starting with that and developing your creative eye and your creative vision first. And then obviously once you start making money, you can invest. You know, you become even more eager to invest and more eager to buy lights, to buy cameras, to buy lenses. But yeah, at the start, you don't need that. What's going to be authentic to you and what you notice is eventually what's going to actually make you stand out in front of other people, make you very unique. And that can't be purchased, but it can be perfected. So the fourth thing that I'd like to talk about was what kind of photographer I actually wanted to be. You know, what were my morals? What were the values? What were the things that I wouldn't stand for? When you're starting out and you're taking inspiration and listening to other photographers, it can become swamped in things that you don't actually want to do yourself. And make a list, do's and don'ts, things I'll stand for, things I won't stand for. What makes you feel uncomfortable? What gives you this icky feeling when you have to deal with it? For example, what gives me the icky feeling is having to give the raw files to clients. I don't like to do that, and I don't want to be asked to do that. I don't want a client to ask me, can I edit the photos? That's a big no for me. But it might be a yes for you. That's fine. There's not one way to do it. Yes, there are laws out there to protect photographers because there are people that do take advantage. You know, if you do have, you know, if you do say, I don't want you to edit them, they'll probably go ahead and edit it sometimes. It happens. Those copyright laws are there to protect you, but that doesn't mean that you're binded by that. If you're okay to give raw files and you're comfortable with that, go ahead and do that. So really take the time to actually think about what photographer you want to be, who you want to work with, who is your ideal client. You know, when we're dating, we have friendships, we think about, okay, what kind of person do I want to marry? What kind of person do I want to date? Approach your business and your photography in the same way, because at the end of the day, if you're pursuing something that comes from you, your creativity, and it reflects on you, it has to be sustainable for you as well. Just like a relationship, if it's not good for you, it's going to deplete you of your energy. It's going to deplete you from your life source. So think about who you want to work with. What do they have to have? What do they need to respect? What are your boundaries? What are your morals? Note it down. Make a mind map or whatever you have to do to get that solidified, because it will cause you a lot less heartbreak and just an annoyance and irritation down the line, which that irritation, it builds up and it can just create a burnout. Now, the final thing that I'd like to talk about, and maybe not spoken about a lot, is how important it is to be aware of human psychology. Understanding how people operate and the signs, body language can really help you become a better photographer, but also just a better business person and just a better person in general. Because once you understand the nuances of human beings and things that trigger them, things that can affect them, the complexity of a human being, you become a lot more compassionate, you become a lot more empathetic and a lot more understanding. And it just makes you, as a creative, it makes you more attentive, it makes you more detail oriented, especially for portrait photography. You know, if you're someone that does enjoy working with people, it helps you navigate client queries, customer issues, if they have issues with a photo that you've taken. It's just giving you that extra edge of understanding, extra eye that makes you attentive and makes you compassionate. Because if you see, you know, a model or someone you're working with that's kind of uncomfortable, you can sense, okay, this is a sign of maybe not be as comfortable in their body, and it allows you to be, again, problem solving in a way that's compassionate to the person that you're working with. So understanding other people's human psychology is important, but also understanding your own psychology is important. It kind of links with what I've just spoken about, your morals and your values and your boundaries, what you're happy with and what you're not happy with, what you're able to communicate. A thing that I really struggled with and still perfecting is communicating my value, communicating my prices, communicating my offers, because obviously that fear of rejection is real, and I do get rejected a lot from potential clients because your price is not ideal for every client, and that's fine. That doesn't mean you lower your prices or whatever. You stand true to who you are and stand true to what you want, but that standing true and keeping that firm, you know, this is my price and I know my worth. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work to get there. So understanding your human psychology and what can hold you back in certain situations in terms of communicating, in terms of how you handle money, all of these things, it's really key to your success, in my opinion. And I don't think it's something that people talk about a lot. That flows through all of the things that I've spoken about. How well you know yourself in terms of your authenticity, why you want to race, why you want to get somewhere, you know, by this age, understanding the social psychology, how society shapes our psychology. Knowledge is power. So once you become aware of all these things that potentially could be hindering you, you become powerful, you become able to override that because you're aware of it, it's been brought to the surface for you to handle in a way that's better for you. Yeah, that brings us to the end of the video. I really hope that you found some of these points valuable. Always stay true to who you are. There's so much advice and guidance out there that your asset and your superpower is you. So tap into you, tap into your intuition, and that, for me, has really guided me through this process within the last few years. I hope you enjoyed it, and there's more to come from me. Have a great day. Bye.